All right, guys, we got to talk about him. Caleb Williams, Week 8 against the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm getting a little bit pissed off. This is not normal for my channel. I'm usually pretty chill. But today I got to talk about the Bears media, how they annoy me a little bit throughout the last couple of weeks, and just the narratives that they're creating, the hate that they're creating, in my opinion, around Caleb Williams. I want to talk about quarterback development, where Caleb Williams is at, what he did against the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to dig into his all-22, and I'm going to draw a couple of conclusions to you guys. So let's talk a little bit of ball, rant a little bit about the hate Caleb Williams gets, because it pisses me off, like I said, and it's going to be a fun one today, a little bit different than the usual that some people may know me from the channel. Some subscribers, I'm sorry, but I got to do this today for my soul. So with that being said, let's get started. Caleb Williams against the Baltimore Ravens in Week 8. And like I said, I gotta start off a little bit ranting about the Chicago Bears media before we want to go into the film room. It's going to be a little bit of a longer episode. We're going to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly of Caleb Williams' performance, talk about quarterback development, all these things that are wrong about the conception of Caleb Williams right now, in my opinion. And I just want to encourage you guys to stay patient with him. So before we want to do that, real quick about the media saying he's not the guy and he's not playing winning football. Comments like this make me mad, because those are people that just finished watching a game, did not look at the all-22 and draw conclusions at a player that hasn't even really played bad if you look at the full concept, as you'll see today. Also, that's probably people that never threw a football in their life before, and straight after that game make judgments, even though I don't think they're in a place they should make judgments. But these people have a pretty big reach and just availability online and create these narratives, and that makes me mad because this is not justified. And was there a lot of mistakes by Caleb Williams, or was there some mistakes and a couple of big ones against the Ravens? Yes, absolutely for Caleb. Was there also good things? Yes, absolutely as well. And if we're talking progress real quick, I think that's the big issue, because progress and growth is not linear. I think we all know that. We just don't always accept it, because obviously seeing bad plays is not great, but those plays are very important for his growth and improvement moving forward. And just because he had a bad game doesn't mean he's progressing on paper. A bad game, not progressing or growing as a player. It's just a little bit different for us to handle as fans, but that's totally fine, because like I said, the progress is not going to be linear. It's going to be ups and downs in that process, but he is getting better, and you'll see it in today's film room. Now, before we want to get into the film though, there's a couple of stats and influences on the game that I think are pretty important. I think first of all, it is important to mention that the Ravens came off of a bye week, and I still believe that the Ravens are one of the better teams in the NFL in terms of coaching, especially offensive and the head coach at that level. I think they're great. Defensively, Zach Orr has struggled and was one of the main reasons in their personnel that they struggled the most with. And one of the key reasons some people say the defense was struggling, but he had 2 weeks to prepare for the Chicago Bears. Okay, so that's a huge difference. Also, they got their commander in the defense, Roquan Smith, back, former Bear, of course, and Chidobe Awuzie was back. So a couple of key players, especially Roquan, was great in this game, which sucked to see. But yeah, that was obviously a big cornerstone for them returning. And overall, they returned more healthy, right? I think Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton had more weeks now under their belt being back healthy. So they're getting back to full health. So obviously the Ravens team was a little bit different in that aspect. And then if we're looking at what they did against the Bears and what the Bears faced, they were the most blitz-heavy team they faced all year in this game. And for the Ravens, that was not untypical. It was the second highest blitz percentage they had all year. But for the Bears, it was the highest blitz rate they have faced all year, more than even the Commanders and the Minnesota Vikings gave them in Week 1. So that's obviously a big difference for the offensive line. A lot of looks and stunts to handle for them, and they did hit home sometimes. Not sacking necessarily Caleb Williams. He only was sacked once, but he's such an escape artist that he made it happen sometimes and just escaped the pressure and threw the ball away, or even still got a completion, but it still still a different look for the Chicago Bears to consider why the Bears offense looked a little bit sloppy overall. And then for Caleb Williams' stats in this game, he went 25 for 38 for 285 yards. That's a completion percentage of 65.8%, which was the first time over 60% this season since week 3 against the Cowboys. So in that perspective, a big improvement for Caleb Williams. And then obviously 1 interception. He had 2 big-time throws and a tight window percentage of 18.4%, which was, by the way, the highest all year for the Chicago Bears. The players were not getting separation. The skills position players were not getting separation. Another stat that is backing that up was that the separation average was 2.8, which is also the lowest all season for the Chicago Bears. So a couple of background stats that Caleb Williams and the offensive line and running back and tight ends, they were all facing several pressure looks all game. And then the receivers also struggled separating against the man coverage looks by the Ravens. So with all that being said, as a background for you guys to understand the All-22 that's coming up now, let's actually move on into today's film room and look at the good, the bad, and the ugly with Caleb Williams. And obviously starting off with the ugly, then we're getting to the bad and then the good for the rest. I encourage you guys to watch all of it because it gives you more background. If you just watched ugly, you're going to have a different perception. But the ugly in this game was obviously the interception in the own half for the Bears later in the game, which put them in a very difficult situation. We're looking at the situation now, 2nd and 10, and the Bears just motioned over Contextual Loveland to go into a double tight 2x2 look. As for the route distribution, what are we doing here? We're having a play action, sit in the pocket play where we're faking inside zone, and we're getting Kamanunga, who's getting out into the flats as a check down. DJ Moore's running the clear route deep, clearing out for the crossing route, the deep dig route by Rome Odunze here, and then you have a over the ball route, a OTB by Contextual Loveland, and Durham Smythe is staying in to block here to take that shot. And it's basically just a high to low read for Caleb Williams on the linebackers. If they stay low, he can hit Rome Odunze back right behind them or hit Contextual Loveland underneath. That's a bow concept. That's what I call it, a dig and then a short route, a hitch out, whatever, whip route underneath here. And first of all, I want to say for Caleb Williams on this sit-in play action play, he's turning away from the defense right, and they're playing a variation of 2 match. And pre-snap, though, it is a 1 high look. Okay, so they rotate late to a 2 high look, and it's obviously a big challenge for a quarterback. If you're in play action, you're turning your body and your face or your eyes away from the defense for a second, and the whole picture changes. Okay, so that's why it took Caleb Williams here a second to decipher what the defense is doing here. But it was still a good read for all the people saying Kamanunga is open. Yes, he's open, but he's the check down. Rome Odunze is in his normal progression here, reading high to low or low to high, whatever they teach. And he does actually a good job of finding Rome Odunze. He just finds him too late. Okay, so the timing is really the issue here. As the backers stay home with the OTB, the dig route opens up. And as he hits the top of his drop, he just has to hitch up and hit it right there. That's a perfect window that he can hit it, and he just waits too long. I don't know what the issue is. Waits too long. Obviously chose a bad time to make that mistake in the own half. Was late. Rome also drifts a little bit upfield, and then number 2 has a pretty good play on the ball as well, making that interception right here. So not a great play. It's on tape now. Like I said before, it's on tape. It's a learning point, and progress is not linear, so that's a situation he can learn from. And he's also not the only NFL quarterback that makes mistakes, throws interceptions. It's okay. Am I mad? No, not at all. I think the play's right there. I think he saw it. He just saw it too late. All right, now we want to quickly move on to the bad for Caleb Williams in this play. We're talking about misses, so bad accuracy or just not good timing, and missed reads. And the bigger problem with his misses was mostly timing. I think that's something he still needs to work on. He needs to be better anticipating throws, and that's not just throws where he lays up the ball. It's more like knowing that he releases the ball and my player's going to be there out of his break right now, and they're not on the same page all the time yet. meaning sometimes Caleb is just too early or too late in a couple of situations. And like I said, the average separation being the third lowest in the league this week didn't help either for those throws. And there's one example to Rome Odunze where they're just not on the same timing, which leads to an incompletion, which is obviously not great. And then later here, there's also an example about DJ Moore on a deep out route, which is a pretty tough throw. It's not a horrible ball by Caleb Williams, honestly. It's pretty solid timing, in my opinion. DJ just can't haul it in, but it's also a very tough catch for DJ Moore here. So you still want to put it out a little bit more in front. I think it's both a little bit on Caleb and DJ. I think DJ should be good enough to make that catch, right? So I don't think it's horrible accuracy here. It's also not a lot of separation by DJ here, but at the same time, you can still lead it a little bit more in front of DJ here as well. And speaking of somewhat bad catches or not made catches or drops even, I think that's also another big part why Caleb Williams struggled a little bit, because his receivers didn't really help him in this game. There's one situation we're going to look at for Rome Odunze where they are in a 3-by-1 situation and the 3 side is running for going outside in. DJ Moore's running a deep out, and then you got 2 stick routes or 2 routes past the sticks, 2 deep curls by Olamide Zaccheaus and Colson Loveland. And then on the backside, it's tough to see, but Rome Odunze, I think he slips. He's trying to run a corner curl and just slips a couple of times. And at that time, the Ravens gave the Bears a man blitz. They put some pressure on Caleb Williams and he had to escape. And I think this is just a great example of Caleb Williams' escapability, as the offensive line cannot pass off on this slide protection, the deep blitz from the linebackers. Someone hits home, Caleb Williams evades the guy and makes something happen for himself. And he did that so many times. That's his big strength, pocket presence, honestly. Sometimes he does panic, but most of the time he is making stuff happen and just keeps the pocket clean for himself by evading players and keeping the stat sheet clean for his offensive lineman. And he does that here, keeps the play alive, scrambles to the right, perfect ball to the sideline where only Rome can catch it. And in my opinion, that's a drop. Rome has to catch that. He is good enough to make that catch. And it's not necessarily a miss by him. It's more like the offensive line and the offense in general, with his skill position players just letting him down in that situation. Obviously, it's a bad look for him, but he evaded that rusher. It was the job of the offensive line to pick that up with the slide protection. Jonah Jackson gets there late. The rusher gets home to the quarterback. He escapes him, scrambles, puts a perfect ball out on the run, which is super difficult, and then Rome doesn't catch it, even though he's open and can make that catch. So that obviously didn't help in that game either. And then lastly, for the missed reads in this game, the last bad category, we just have to talk about him getting his eyes off the target sometimes too quickly, especially on this one. He misses the dig route to DJ Moore, who's getting open not late even in the rep, and there's a little bit of pressure over the middle, and Caleb Williams panics in the pocket here. Instead of just moving a little bit in the pocket, he can stay in that pocket. It's still pretty clean. Even though it may be looking a little bit difficult for him in a second, but still, he can move over to the right a little bit, stay in the pocket, keeps his eyes downfield, but with him panicking, he takes his eyes off, cannot see DJ Moore, and can't make that throw. So with that being said, though, that's the only time I saw that during this game, which is good, but it's still a good learning point for him to progress from. All right, and now enough talk about his misses and mistakes. Let's finally talk about the good for Caleb Williams in Week 8 against the Baltimore Ravens, because there was a lot of great to talk about, as you'll see right now. The first big plus I want to mention in today's film room is the under center play action plays, especially the sit-in play action plays where he's turning away from the defense, then needs to readjust, and then hits it right off of his back foot on time. And he did this time and time again. This is where Ben Johnson eventually wants to get to. And Caleb Williams really did do an excellent job in this game of executing, aside obviously from that interception. And he was always on time at the top of this drop, hitches up once, boom, releases the ball with good accuracy on time. He hit multiple big completions to Rome Odunze, with perfect timing. I love to see him grow in that area of his game because that's going to be a big part moving forward. Like I said, with Ben Johnson, that's how they lived and died in Detroit. With the play action under center, we're sitting in the pocket and hitting it over the middle to Amon-Ra St. Brown, turning away from the defense with our back, with our eyes, and he did that really well against the Ravens in my opinion, even though they have pretty tight coverage on most plays against the Bears offense. Also, I thought he did a pretty good job of finding the check down if necessary, so if there was nothing there down the field or if there was pressure in his face. There's one good example for DJ Moore where he finds him quickly as a check down. And then moving on to the gun dropbacks, which the Bears did a lot in this game as well. Again, I really liked his timing in gun, under control, really good pocket presence. And then he connected once with Rome Odunze on a comeback and Colston Loveland on a curl past the sticks where he just had great anticipation, clean footwork, got the ball out on time when they were not even turning yet towards him. And that was great to see, just the anticipation that he had on those throws. And then we're combining all of that in the last point and combining it with his elite arm strength that he showed out in this game, driving the ball down the field, several big throws on time from gun, which was really, really impressive. One completion I want to talk about where he's hitting Rome Odunze on a deep flood concept. So the Chicago Bears are in a tight bunch right, and they are running flood, like I said, with a max protection. So Colston Loveland and DeAndre Swift are staying in to block. And then the bunch side is running with the lead, the point being set by Olamide Zaccheaus, a deep clear. And then you got Rome Odunze with a deep switch release corner, I would say, and then you got DJ Moore going out into the flats, creating kind of a super flood concept right here. And the Ravens run a variation of cover 2 against him. And Caleb Williams, with a perfect read, goes from the flat, no, to the corner route. So it goes through read to read, rips it, and just shows his elite arm strength on a zip line right here, firing it to Rome Odunze. Really, really impressive throw, and it doesn't stop here. Next one, we want to look at a play action gun play here where he's throwing from hash to the opposite hash and hits DJ Moore on a deep in-cut route on a rope, again with a moving pocket where they're trying to move the pocket towards the right, which makes it an even longer throw in the air, and it's just incredible. He's on time, great timing, and then zips it right in there for a big time completion, showing off his arm strength, getting there on time even though it's a pretty far throw for the level that he has to throw it into. And then the last point I want to make that I was really happy with was his scrambling ability and taking off. I think he still doesn't do it too much, but if the O-line really parts open like the sea, I liked seeing him take off once at least for a plus 20-yard gain. And I hope he does it a little bit more, honestly, moving forward, because yes, it's great that he still keeps his eyes downfield sometimes and tries to make something happen, but honestly, such an elite athlete that he should just take off more because he can gain yards by himself. He's so damn fast, and I just want to see him take off a little bit more on those scrambles, especially if everything just opens up and he can get an easy first down or gain a lot of yards. Just take off, okay? You're the athlete. I know your receivers just ran routes. If they're mad at you, I don't care because you got the yards, and that's fine. We're playing a team sport, so go get those yards for your offense right there. So overall, for the good, obviously there was a lot of great things in my opinion, especially the sit and play action and the control he had in gun. He had really good timing in this game, and it showed up on tape even though they had the least amount of separation all year long from the perspective of the receivers and tight ends in this game. So for the overall conclusion of today's video, what did we see for Caleb Williams against the Baltimore Ravens? Progress. He did gain some big steps into the right direction, or made some right steps into the right direction. And for the third time, what did we learn today? Progress is not linear, okay? He is allowed to make mistakes with his second head coach now into his second season, which is basically his rookie season, 8 games into a system that is asking a lot more of him, which is good. It's challenging him than the previous regime is, and he's just doing a lot of things that he didn't do last year. So it's basically a whole new season, a whole new start to his career right here, and he just needs some time, and that's okay. and a performance that on paper looked pretty bad turned out to be a pretty good performance by Caleb Williams. But of course, because he threw an interception, he is at fault for the entire loss and the boo man for the entire media, which again is ridiculous, and the hate, in my opinion, is not justified at all. So for Caleb Williams overall, he showed growth in the play action game, especially with those sit-in play action plays that Ben Johnson wants him to see hit. He did hit them in this game, which was really good. So finally, a lot of room to grow for Caleb Williams, but please, let's make sure we also give him that space to grow into actually. And with that being said, guys, that's the end of today's episode. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below, please, what you think of Caleb Williams' performance now after watching the video against the Baltimore Ravens in Week 8. Also, I would appreciate it if you leave a like on the video, a comment obviously as well, and subscribe to the channel. It's completely free, but helps me out a lot. And with that being said, I can't wait what the Bears do against the Cincinnati Bengals. We will see each other again next week. And until then, as always, guys, bear down.